Ajay couldn't look away from the screen. His eyes were locked on the TV. Every channel was showing the same thing. Breaking news. The anchor was shouting, "World War III has officially begun!" Missiles were being launched. Explosions were lighting up the sky. Cities were burning. People were running. Stock markets were crashing across the world. Fear was everywhere. But strangely, that wasn't the part that scared Ajay the most. Not the war, not the fires, not the chaos. What truly terrified him was his stock portfolio. He grabbed his phone with shaking hands and opened his investment app. Everything was red. Every single stock was falling, fast. The numbers kept dropping, again and again and again. Years of savings were disappearing right in front of him, and in that moment, Ajay realized something terrifying. The world outside was collapsing, and so was his future. Here's a slightly more cinematic version too, if you wanted to feel more dramatic and premium. Ajay sat frozen in front of the TV. The screen flashed red. Breaking news. The anchor's voice shook with panic. "World War III has officially begun!" Missiles were launching. Cities were on fire. Markets were collapsing. The whole world looked like it was falling apart. But Ajay wasn't staring at the war. He was staring at his phone, at his portfolio, at the sea of red numbers destroying 10 years of savings in real time. That was the part that broke him. Not the missiles, not the headlines, not the fear on TV, but the sick feeling of watching his entire financial life collapse in silence. Every single day, Ajay was losing money. Not small amounts, big ones. $2,000, gone. 5,000, gone. 10,000, gone. And it wasn't stopping. He kept refreshing his screen, hoping it would slow down. It didn't. 10 years of savings, years of hard work, melting away right in front of him, like it meant nothing. Then things got worse. Banks started limiting withdrawals. People rushed to get their money out. Long lines formed outside every bank, hours of waiting just to access their own cash. Ajay stood in line too, for hours, stressed, silent, watching people argue, panic, lose control. Finally, his turn came. He stepped forward, gave his details, waited, and then they told him the limit. He could only withdraw a small amount from his own money. That's when it hit him. This wasn't just a market crash anymore. The system itself was breaking. And the worst part? Ajay wasn't prepared. He didn't own a house. He lived on rent. His salary was already on hold. His kitchen was almost empty. No backup, no safety. And suddenly, all that money he once trusted felt completely useless. Ajay sat there, frozen. His phone still in his hand, the numbers still falling, his mind racing, but his body completely still. He didn't know what to do. For the first time in years, he felt completely helpless. And then, a memory came back. A simple line, something his childhood friend once told him. "In bad times, you'll miss the village." Back then, Ajay laughed. He thought it was a joke. He thought it was small thinking. He thought he knew better. But now, sitting there, watching everything collapse, he wasn't laughing anymore. Without thinking too much, he picked up his phone and called Sahil. He hesitated before speaking, a part of him expected sarcasm, judgment. "I told you so." But that didn't happen. Sahil's voice was calm, simple, warm. "Come. Stay as long as you want. No questions, no ego, just support." A few days later, Ajay reached the village, and what he saw shocked him. This wasn't struggle. This wasn't poverty. Sahil was living comfortably. A big house, food stocked in abundance, land stretching far beyond the eye, machines, workers, activity, and people coming to him for business. While the world outside was collapsing, Sahil's world was stable, calm, controlled. Ajay couldn't understand it. That night, they sat together, just like old times. Ajay finally asked, "How were you not affected by all this?" Sahil smiled, not proudly, not arrogantly, just calmly. And then he said something that changed everything. "You made one mistake." Ajay looked at him, confused. Sahil continued, "You trusted fragile assets instead of real ones." Silence filled the room, because deep down, Ajay knew he was right. Sahil stood up and signaled Ajay to come with him. "Let me show you something." They stepped outside and walked toward the fields. The air felt different, quiet, stable, almost untouched by the chaos happening in the world. Sahil pointed at the land in front of them, wide, green, alive. "This," he said, "is my first asset." Ajay looked around, confused. "Land?" Sahil nodded. "Not just land. Productive land." He paused for a moment, then said something Ajay would never forget. "When money fails, food wins." Ajay frowned, trying to process it. So Sahil continued. "Think about it. When everything collapses, what do people actually need? Not stocks, not apps, not numbers on a screen. Food." He bent down, picked up a handful of soil, and let it fall slowly through his fingers. In every crisis in history, people who held cash lost everything. But farmers? They became powerful. Ajay stayed silent, listening carefully now. Sahil looked at him and said, "You can't eat money." A short pause. "But you will always need food." He pointed toward the storage area nearby. While people in cities are panicking, standing in lines, fighting for basic supplies, I already have what they need. Ajay looked around again, this time differently. He wasn't just seeing land anymore. He was seeing security, power, control. And for the first time, he realized something uncomfortable. All his life, he had been chasing numbers, while Sahil was building something real. Sahil didn't stop there. "Come," he said, "I'll show you the second one." They walked into the village market. Small shops, quiet movement, but one place stood out, a gold shop. Sahil stepped inside. The shop owner greeted him with a smile, like they knew each other well. Without saying much, Sahil asked for a small box. The shopkeeper brought it out and placed it gently on the table. Sahil opened it. Inside, gold. Simple, solid, silent. Ajay looked at it, a little confused. "Gold?" he asked. Sahil nodded. "This is my second asset." He picked up one piece, held it in his hand, and said slowly, "Gold is not an investment." A pause. "It's insurance." Ajay leaned in, listening carefully now. Sahil continued. "Currencies change. Governments change. Systems change. Paper money comes and goes." He placed the gold back in the box. "But this has held value for thousands of years. Ajay stayed silent. Sahil looked at him and said, "When systems collapse, gold survives." He paused, then added, "There have been times in history when people had bags full of cash and still couldn't buy food. But a small piece of gold, that could get you anything." Ajay slowly nodded. For the first time, he understood. Money is only valuable when people believe in it. But gold doesn't need belief. It just holds value. Sahil closed the box and pushed it slightly toward Ajay. During normal times, people chase returns. But during bad times, people chase safety. Ajay looked at the gold again, this time not as an investment, but as protection. Sahil closed the box and stood up. "We're not done yet," he said. They stepped back outside and walked a little further into the market. This time, he stopped in front of a busy shop. People were coming in, people were leaving, some carrying bags of food, others buying oil, grains, basic supplies. Even in the middle of chaos, this place was alive. Sahil looked at Ajay. "This," he said, "is my third asset." Ajay watched carefully. "This is just a shop," he said. Sahil shook his head. "Not just a shop. An essential business." He stepped closer and lowered his voice slightly. "Not luxury, not fancy startups. Essential goods." He pointed around. Food, oil, medicine. Ajay could see it now. No panic here, no fear, just demand. Sahil continued, "In a crisis, people don't care about luxury. They don't care about brands. They don't care about status. They care about survival." A pause. "And the people who control survival control everything." Ajay looked at the shop again. The owner was calm, confident, almost unaffected. Sahil leaned in slightly and said, "While others are losing money, these businesses don't just survive, they dominate." Ajay felt it now. This wasn't just about earning. This was about control. Because when everyone needs something, the person who provides it becomes powerful. And for the first time, Ajay realized something deeper. He had been investing, but Sahil was positioning. Sahil stepped out of the market and walked toward a quieter street. "This one is different," he said. They stopped near a small office. Inside, people were exchanging money, different currencies, different values. Ajay looked confused again. "Currency?" he asked. Sahil nodded. "This is my fourth asset." Ajay frowned slightly. "I already had money," he said. Sahil looked at him calmly. "Yes? But only in one place." A pause. "In one system." He stepped closer and said slowly, "When one country collapses, its currency dies with it." Ajay didn't say anything, because he had just lived that reality. His money was still there, but it wasn't useful anymore. Sahil continued, "Most people make this mistake. They trust one system, one currency, one source. And when that system fails, everything goes with it." He pointed inside the office. "But the people who understand this, they diversify. They spread their risk. Different currencies, different systems." Ajay watched as people exchanged notes, calmly, strategically, no panic. Sahil turned back to him. "They don't depend on one country, so they don't collapse with it." A pause. They protect themselves. Ajay slowly nodded. This wasn't about making more money. This was about not losing everything. And for the first time, he understood something deeper. Safety is also a strategy. Sahil didn't say anything for a moment. "Come," he said quietly. They got into the car and drove a little outside the village. After a few minutes, they stopped in front of a building, simple, strong, standing still. Sahil stepped out, looked at the structure, then at Ajay. "This," he said, "is my fifth asset." Ajay looked at the building. "Real estate?" he asked. Sahil nodded. "Not just property. Shelter." A pause. He placed his hand on the wall. "Think about it. Numbers can crash. Markets can fall. But this still stands." Ajay looked at the building more carefully now. Sahil continued. "No matter what happens, people need a place to live. Families need a roof. Businesses need space. Life still continues inside these walls." A short silence. "Real estate may shake, but it doesn't disappear." Ajay remembered his own situation. No house, no security, just rent and uncertainty. Sahil looked at him and said, "When everything feels unstable, this is what people run toward, not away from." Ajay slowly nodded, because now he could see it. This wasn't just an asset, it was stability, something physical, something real, something that doesn't vanish overnight. And for the first time, he felt the weight of his decisions. He had chosen speed. Sahil had chosen strength. Sahil looked at Ajay, and for the first time his tone became serious. "There's one more," he said, "the most important one." Ajay leaned forward. Sahil didn't point to land or gold or buildings. He pointed at himself. "This," he said, "is the sixth asset." Ajay frowned. "Skills?" he asked. Sahil nodded, slowly. "This is the one asset no one can take from you." A pause. No government, no bank, no crisis, nothing. Ajay stayed silent. Sahil continued. "When systems break, skills become currency." Ajay looked at him, trying to fully understand. So Sahil explained. "Imagine a world where money doesn't work. No banks, no transactions. Then what matters?" A pause. "What can you do?" He pointed toward the road. "An electrician can fix power. A mechanic can repair vehicles. A builder can create shelter. They don't wait for money. They create value directly." Ajay's expression changed. This hit differently, because for the first time, he realized something uncomfortable. If money stopped working, what could he offer? Silence. Sahil looked at him and said, "Skills don't depend on systems. They work in any situation. And that's why this is the most powerful asset." A long pause. Ajay looked down at his hands, not at his phone, not at his portfolio, just his hands. And for the first time in years, he questioned everything he had built. Because deep down, he knew the truth. He had money, but he didn't have control. And Sahil had both. Sahil looked at Ajay, and this time, there was no explanation left, just truth. He said slowly, "Wealth doesn't disappear in a crisis." A pause. It transfers. Ajay didn't respond because now he understood. Sahil continued, people with fragile assets lose everything. People with real assets become rich. Silence filled the space between them. Not confusion, not doubt. Clarity. Ajay looked around. The house, the land, the people, the stability. Then he looked at himself. All those years he thought he was building wealth. But in reality, he was building risk. That day, Ajay realized something he had never seen before. He wasn't poor because of the crisis. He was poor because of his strategy. A long pause. Because the crisis didn't break him. It exposed him. Sahil stood up, calm, certain. And as Ajay sat there, processing everything, one final thought settled in his mind. If you want to survive the next crisis, don't chase money. A pause. Build assets that still matter when money stops working.